Facebook. It's Crystal and Michaela, and today we have a special guest with us. Sanjay Raja is talking about his new book, The Food Talk. And we have lots of burning questions for him, but we're going to let him introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself this morning.
Hey guys, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. So my name is Sanjay Raja. I'm a food nutrition expert. I've been working in this field now for quite some time, probably about 5+ years. Brief background about me, I was in the medical field for about 10 to 15 years, educating surgeons on surgical technique throughout the years. I'm an actor, entrepreneur, former MMA fighter for about 5 years. And I was inspired to write the book because of my 2 beautiful children, twins, boy and girl.
Facebook. Sorry. It's Crystal and Michaela.
And what I wanted to do was to write a book to help parents and families avoid the problems that normally occur, which is kids eating foods that are not helpful to them. And so that way parents don't have an uphill battle for their children the rest of their lives. So far the book's been a great success. We've gotten some great reviews. You're going to see us on Ellen's show. You're going to see us on Rachel Ray. You'll see us on a number of big platforms coming up in the next couple months. So I'm excited to talk to both you ladies who share my passion, and excited to be here.
Awesome. So fun. That's fantastic. And I just love that your twins are the reason behind your passion and your interest in writing this book, because that's what we're all about. We're all about honest parent talk, I guess you can call it today.
Absolutely. And I just want to say that I feel really honored that you took the time to get on with us. I mean, after all, we're not Ellen or Rachel Ray, but it's really nice to have you on. And we're excited that you're going to speak at the Bestie Weekend Getaway as well. So honored to have you.
You know, we also have to start somewhere, right? So we all build our platform, and your platform that I've looked into with the women's health is just, it works well with mine, and I believe in your message. So I'm happy to speak at your event and happy to help you guys in any way.
Thanks. Yay. All right. So question for you. What would you say is the #1 problem or excuse that families have when it comes to nutrition?
#1 problem, if I had to list my top 10, would be my child is a picky eater. And I have to call people out on that, because there's no such thing as a picky eater. You know, when we're kids, we're born to try new things. We're very adventurous. It all starts at the top. And so I own a company called Team No Excuses Fitness and Nutrition. I work with families, adults, kids of all ages. And when I sign up a client, the first thing I do is I do a consultative session with the family and the children to try to figure out the dynamic. And 9 times out of 10, I always get the excuse my child is a picky eater. Well, it all starts at the top, meaning you could push their boundaries. It's just up to you to do that. When they're very young, they're open to trying anything new. On an average, it takes 8 touch points for kids to gravitate towards something. Mm-hmm. So if you say to your kids, hey, I want you to try broccoli, and they don't like it the first time, it's up to you to say, we're going to try it 3 or 4 more times in different versions.
Right.
So you got to take the path of most resistance, and most people take the path of least resistance. So picky eaters, no such thing.
I love that, because I grew up in, eating very ethnic foods and, spicy foods and a variety of foods. And growing up, my friends thought I was weird. I was the weird one that didn't eat macaroni and cheese and hot dogs and peanut butter and jelly, because I went for the curry instead. But again, I modeled after what my parents showed me.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, you have to realize that parents, we as parents and our parents learn from their parents. So it's a generational thing, When my mom first read my book, she got really angry at me. She basically said, I like what you're saying, but you're painting this picture of me. I said, I'm not saying that you're a bad person. I'm just saying you learned it from somewhere, and you learned it from your parents, and we just pass that inherent knowledge down to each other. But at this day and age, where there's so much information on the internet, there's no excuse for us not to be more well-informed. Yeah,
you're right. That's so true.
Well, and I think that there's this thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see a lot, Michaela and I see this a lot with breastfeeding moms who eliminate everything from their diet. because their baby is gassy or whatnot. But we also have to realize that that is their first exposure to some of these things is via our breast milk, and you can't eliminate it all. And they're learning and their guts are developing, and so being exposed to these things is important. It's just like exposing them once they can, you know, start eating avocado or whatever your first introductory food is. So
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, do you think that's important for?
absolutely, because you are what you eat. And obviously breast milk is going to contain the nutrients and whatever the mother is consuming. So we have to realize that it starts at the very top, meaning when you're pregnant, especially obviously women, but when you're pregnant, you got to be careful about your diet in so many ways. And your child is going to be feeding off of you, and whatever you consume, they're essentially consuming as well. And so it was really important for us to, once we had our twins, to start creating a taste profile for them. So when they weren't feeding breast milk or feeding on breast milk, we started making our own baby food very easily. We took avocado, banana, we took broccoli, whatever. And what you're doing is you're actually changing the way they eat, and you're creating good habits that they don't even know about, because to this day, my daughter loves steamed broccoli versus French fries, because you can change that taste profile early on.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
What
Absolutely.
Sorry. What would you say? I know that time is a big factor when people, you know, we all are living busy lives and running around from sports and extracurricular activities with our kids. And how would you say is the best way to get a nutritious meal in when you're going from one place to another, and it's easier to drive through than it is to, you know, pack a lunch?
No, it's a great question. I've been blessed with having twins, and at the time we had twins, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this, right? Because everything is ×2 in my world. And the best way I know how to do it, and I tell my clients, is meal prep. You know what? You're going to save a lot of time in the long run. So number one, what I do is every weekend, I think about all the meals we want to have during the week, because you got to make the breakfasts, lunches, and dinners for the kids, and then for yourself. So 3 of my top tips are: number 1 is meal prep. Number 2 is there's no separate meals in the house.
Yeah.
That's the other problem I see. You know, basically parents are like, well, I'm going to eat this and they're going to eat that because I know they're going to eat that. So you're creating more work for yourself in creating 2 meals, number 1. And you're also telling them it's okay not to eat the healthy stuff. It's okay to eat what you want to eat. So you're basically telling them that right off the bat.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why my kid's a picky eater, because you enabled that.
Yeah.
So, and then the third thing would be is in every family dynamic is different. Sometimes you've got parents who are married. Sometimes you have parents who are divorced. Everybody's dynamic is different. But one of the most important things is you have to be on the same page in a family. That's the third thing. I've got one client, 2 doctors, very busy lives. One's in internal medicine, one's a radiologist. They've got 2 children. They called me because they said, we can't get our kids to eat properly. And I said, so what do you eat? And they said, well, we eat this, this, and this. And I said, so what do the kids eat? Well, we give them this, this, and this. I said, well, there's a disconnect. If they see mom and dad doing this and you're giving them that, there's an obvious disconnect. And more importantly, do you guys eat together as a family? That's my sacred time with my kids. Talk about their day, connect, bond. And they don't do that. So we changed everything around for them. And now they sit together, eat together, make meals together. And there's 1 meal in the house, and that whole picky eater thing is completely eliminated.
Yeah, I mean, even if you can't fit in multiple family meals a day, dinner or picking one, if that fits in your schedule, to be able to have those conversations, and I think I agree, is very, very important in setting the example.
Absolutely.
So I have a question for you. Do your kids take lunch to school, or do they eat the school lunch?
Well, I grew up in a household where my mom made all my lunches for me, for better or for worse at the time. But in my house, we make all their lunches for them. I'm a control freak when it comes to what they consume. Obviously, it's my passion. And there was a school early on, we put them in pre-K. So we interviewed a bunch of pre-K schools, and probably 90% of them said, we don't allow outside food. So I said, let me see your menu. So they gave me the menu and they said, it's organic. And it was organic chicken nuggets with ketchup. I'm like, really? This doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And then throughout the day, they would bring in this thing called the Kona truck. The Kona truck is frozen ice with chocolate syrup. I said, so how do you get these kids to focus after you've given them all this sugar? How does that even work?
Yeah.
And they said, well, try. And I said, so why do you give them this treat in the middle of the day? And they said, well, it's just something to keep them focused. I said, well, you're doing the opposite of keeping them focused. You're losing their focus. Right. So it was really important to me to find a school that basically allowed them to bring their lunch, and we found that school. Now they're in second grade, so I pack their lunches religiously, and we talk about their lunches the night before. I say, what do you feel like eating? And they'll say X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And then usually they're picking the right choices, and I'll try to guide them in that direction as best I can. But I want them to be in control of their food so that they'll eventually pack their own lunch, and I don't have to do it.
I kind of found that with my...
So give us
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I kind of found that with my kids, basically, if I don't keep the junk in the house, then they don't want it because it's not available to them. So our number one rule is you can have an apple, you can have fruits and vegetables all day long without having to, ask basically. But if there was anything outside of that you want, we have to talk about it.
Well, I mean, in the school, they tell me it's somebody's birthday, they have a special occasion, so they're going to get their junk food one way or another. I can't stop that, and I'm okay with that. It's just I'm not going to enable them to have even more on top of what they're getting that I don't have any control of. So
yeah,
right.
Go ahead, Crystal.
Well, I'm curious, like, what does the average lunch look like? Like, let's give us, because we're most of us watching our moms, and we are doing the struggle of packing the lunch, and like, it gets exhausting, and it is easy, I will say, to walk through the aisle, and there's like all these individual wrap things. I have twins too, so I've been known to grab some of that because it just seems easy, especially when life's in a transition. But what is something, like your kid's favorite lunch, I guess?
One of their favorite lunches is a ham sandwich. Very basic, right? But we don't do the classic white bread. We don't do any of that stuff. So I get these buns that are flaxseed, and they're made from whole wheat. So I'm not worried about carb intake for them at this age. Does not matter. What I'm worried about is the amount of chemicals that are in the preservatives of the bread to extend their shelf life. This bread will go bad in 5 days on you. So I know there's not a lot of chemicals in there. Plus reading the ingredients list. So I'll toast some flaxseed bread, and I'll get some hormone-free ham from the deli section as best I can to find it. And then we don't do mustard. I mean, we don't do mayonnaise or ketchup now. It's all mustard. So they love spicy mustard, brown mustard, yellow mustard. They've tried every mustard out there. So they crave that. I'll do some organic blue corn chips for them. And then we'll do carrot sticks. And then we'll give them an apple and some hormone-free yogurt, low sugar, of course. So it's a very colorful lunch. So I always tell parents, the more colorful, the more different shapes you put it on a plate, the more they'll have fun eating it and gravitate towards it.
Exactly.
So very simple. You don't have to, nothing has to be exotic. I know in the morning I prep it 20 minutes in and out the door. We're gone. So.
Yeah. What would you say? I know that another objection and I guess hurdle that a lot of families face is the budget. It is unfortunately more expensive to buy healthier food, but yet when you think about in the long run, what you're saving yourself from, what would you say is a good way to incorporate some of these healthier foods without breaking the bank?
That's a great question, because you look at socioeconomic backgrounds now are really important. And on average, a family of four can be fed at McDonald's very cost effectively versus going to a grocery store. I totally get it. So you have to be really picky and choosy about what you buy that is going to be organic and non-organic. So I'm very picky about that. Typically, like berries, like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries have very thin skin. So they will basically absorb all the toxins, if you get non-organic. So we go organic on that side, wait for a sale, obviously. And then for like bananas and anything with a thicker skin, we just go regular because there's no point in spending the money. The toxins won't penetrate through the skin anyways.
Right.
So being just picky and choosy about what you buy is really key. I'm a big believer in the basics of sales and coupons. I still do that to this day. Just was raised that way. But more importantly, you can make something very simple, very healthy, just by making a few key choices. For example, when you buy canned vegetables, right? The number one thing I look for in canned vegetables is they put EDTA in there. EDTA is a preservative that basically is an anticoagulant. So it keeps the vegetables from coagulating the juices. And also they put calcium chloride in there, which is horrible in every way because you find calcium chloride in paint. So
Right.
I buy canned vegetables that are packed in seaweed. I do that, which is easy to do. They're about probably 30 cents more, still very worth it. Then mustards, usually go with the organic mustards if I can, but if it's not organic mustard, I'm okay with that. Mustard has very few preservatives anyways. Cheese, if you're a cheese fiend like my kids are, try to find the hormone-free milk with the cheese. And those have become very competitive in pricing now. And the most important thing is, like, we have Publix grocery stores here in Florida. Everywhere else is different. You've got your Whole Foods, which I like to call whole paycheck, because you literally don't even take a paycheck for them.
Yes.
You don't have to go there. That's what people say. Yeah, you don't have to go there. There's all these different stores opening up that are being more competitive in the space of organic foods, like our local supermarkets. Yeah, even Walmart. Yeah. And even better is every Saturday, Sunday, we go to a farmer's market. We get fresh eggs from a farmer's market. Close by, you can always find one. We go blueberry picking, we get our blueberries there. So you can make it fun, interactive, and you don't have to break the bank.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, my rule of thumb is if I can't pronounce it, then I'm not buying it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly. If there's more than 12 ingredients when you're reading, it's probably a bad idea.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Absolutely. There's even a lot of the direct ship things now. Like there's a new company called Brandless, and it's all organic, but it's again, it's none of the like big companies trying to switch over and kind of price gouge. So that's really cool. It's just, and you can put what you want on your order and it ships to you. And I know Amazon Prime Pantry is a good way for people if you can pack the pantry box with the organic. So yeah, well, Amazon.
You see it now. You see all these meals to go, like Blue Apron, right? You see all these Sunbox, right? So instead of spending the money on pre-portioned meals, if you want to spend that money, spend it on a delivery service. They'll go get your groceries, and you'll spend actually a little bit less than those pre-planned meals. So
yeah, good point. We've
absolutely
pre-planned meals and stuff just to try and to make, cut corners and see what's faster for the week. But honestly, you're right. The best thing that we've done is meal plan, but we make it a family affair. Like I used to do all the grocery shopping, but now my husband and I do it together, or I'll plan and he'll go to the grocery store. Cause I honestly hate grocery shopping. I like having lots of good food in the house, but I don't like actually going.
Well, the other thing to do is have, like you said, have a plan of what you're going to buy. Because what I also see is people going there without any clue as to what they're going to buy. And they buy all this unnecessary stuff. They're like, oh, this looks good. This looks good. And then you have no plan of what you're going to actually do with these ingredients and make what meals, right?
Right.
The other thing is this is what I do, but it consumes a lot of time, which is I buy groceries for the day I need it. The reason why is because I know I'm going to use it. Otherwise, if I buy a week's worth of groceries, it's easy to go, oh my God, I'm so tired on Thursday. Let's go out to eat. And that food goes bad. You're just wasting that money.
So here's another question. I think going out to eat, making healthier choices when you do go out. How, what are some tips that you have for that?
Very, very good question. I get a lot of these questions from my clients. They'll text me and they're like, they'll send me a picture of their menu and say, what should I order? I'm like, fine, I'll help you out. No big deal. But most importantly, when you're with kids, first thing I tell them is throw away the kids menu. Don't even look at it. Okay. The reason why, it's the cheapest cuts of meat. It's the cheapest food. It's all fried, and you're going to pay more money for that. And two, you're telling your kids, eat garbage while I eat something else. That's what you're telling your kids right there. So that's one. Don't ever order a kids menu. Two, look for anything that's baked, broiled, sauteed, blackened, fried. You know what you're getting into. It tastes good, I get it. And every once in a while, it's fine, not a big deal. But think about how it's being prepared. And the other thing is, I know fish, a lot of people like to eat fish, right? And one thing most people don't know is that on the menu of any restaurant, if it doesn't say wild caught specifically on the menu, that means it is farm raised. Yeah. It has to say wild caught. I get that question all the time. So then you have to ask. If it doesn't say on the menu, then you know it's farm raised for sure. But ordering is just, you know what? If you're out and it's your cheap meal, have at it. Fine. Have at it. if you're out and you want to watch what you eat, okay, think of how your meat's prepared, have a green vegetable, have some colorful vegetables on your plate, and just try to keep it colorful on your plate, just like you do with your own kids. But the simple rule with families I tell them is everybody orders off the adult menu, mom and dad order their meals, and the kids split an adult meal, and you save money, and they're eating just like you.
Yeah, I love that. So we have a question from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Twyla is asking, how do you manage cooking seasonally when you don't have fresh fruits and veg available to you?
Great question. Yeah, that's a great question. So in the chat, in my book, there's a chapter called Seasonal Cooking, Seasonal Life, right? And in that section, I kind of explain to parents that I prepare for the seasons actually about a couple of months in advance. So you've seen pumpkin spice everywhere, right? It's like a national holiday, pumpkin spice.
Right.
So we will, about 3 weeks or a month before it rolls into the whole Thanksgiving, October type area, I buy my vegetables ahead. They're cheaper because they're much cheaper. I also go to my organic grocery stores. I also go to my farmer's market and buy it well in advance. Now, how do you keep it fresh? Well, if it's canned, it's going to stay fresh. If not, I freeze my vegetables all the time. Freezing them is a great way to do it. And then I steam them or broil them or whatever I have to do. But to answer that question specifically, to save money, to make sure it's available, a couple of months, a couple of weeks before the season is really going to kick in, buy them early because most people won't do that.
That's excellent. Yeah, great.
And very, very great tip.
If I don't have access, I do live in a very small town, and if I don't have access to something, I will buy the frozen vegetable as opposed to the canned if I can.
Yeah, frozen just as good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what else have you got, Crystal?
Gosh, I don't know. I'm actually learning some things because I've let my twins kind of rule the roost, and I've been giving them. So my daughter is the hard one who only wants to eat carbs, and so like she eats like one thing that's green. So I make a lot of smoothies with green things in it, so it's like covered up. But yeah, I just need to make her eat it, or just let her go to bed hungry. I guess
it's how you position it, right? I don't tell my kids.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, when my parents said you have to eat it just because I said so, I was going to make sure I was not going to do it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I make it a point not to say to them. What I do is when I sit down and eat, say, listen, everybody's eating this meal together. We like it. Just try it. And they're going to say, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Guess what? Tomorrow it shows up again. The day after it shows up again. The day after that it shows up again. So they get the hint that this is not going away anytime soon. I don't believe in keeping your kids at the table until they eat. And it's like midnight. I don't believe in any of that nonsense.
Yeah.
The kitchen opens at 5 p.m. It closes at 7 p.m.
Right.
And there's a whole section on the book called the Clean Up Your Plate Club, which I don't believe in. When they say, parents say, clean your plate. You know what? You're making them overeat. I don't believe in that at all.
Right.
Eat
exactly.
So they're satiated.
My mom joke because she grew up having to, clean her plate, and they would always say there's starving kids in Africa. And she'd be like, but what does me eating it all have to do with
it
that?
has nothing to do with it. It is what you're creating is you're creating some psychological issues down the road for them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story for me, and that is I grew up in a vegetarian household.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is not Hindu. She's a religion called Jainism, which is a more extreme form of Hinduism.
Okay.
And in that religion, they can only eat basically fruits and vegetables that grow from the ground, not from the tree. So they believe it's going to hurt the tree. Mm-hmm. So she didn't put those restrictions on us, but she didn't allow any meat in the house. And I grew up in Kansas where there's meat everywhere, right? So what I would do, because I couldn't bring meat home or I couldn't eat it there, is every time I went to a restaurant, I ate everything and I binged eat. Yeah. I couldn't bring anything home. So I would binge eat everything and I got super obese. That's what happened to me.
Wow.
And so they started noticing me gaining weight, and I told them what happened. They said, okay, we get it. So basically I realized, they said, we're not going to meet in the house, but don't binge eat because they saw that problem happening with me early. So with this whole clean your plate club issue, it's a big deal because those little things in their mind, they're forming their own opinions about, oh, I got to clean my plate every time.
Right.
And that will lead to obesity issues, bulimia. You never know how it's going to affect them.
My husband was raised where if he didn't clean his plate, it was like he was slapping the cook in the face.
Yes.
Like, and so when we first got married, I've always shared with my sister or with my mom. We've always had small meals, but often. And so when we first got married, he would always have seconds because he felt like if he didn't, he was offending me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know you're not hungry anymore. You don't have to keep eating. If but we'll have leftovers. It's okay.
Yeah.
And it took a really long time to switch that gear in his brain.
A lot of times for parents, food equals love. That's what they're saying to their kids, which is okay. But in the long run, you want to make sure that if you do that, they're going to have an obsession with food. They will. Okay. So then they won't be able to separate their emotional aspect from food. So let's say they gained a lot of weight for whatever reason. Then they start to overeat because they're like, if I don't eat, I'm not saying I love you to my mom.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of those communications with clients where we have to break that cycle of emotion and food.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
a lot. There's one more question.
So good.
When you are working to shift your child's food types from fried to fresh, what do you do when you offer the foods you want? What do you do?
Them to eat, probably.
Okay, so what do we do to offer them the foods we want them to eat, right?
So you're switching from fried to fresh.
Okay, so what you have to do, the beautiful thing about food is you can prepare it in so many ways, right? You don't have to keep serving broccoli steamed and throw it on their plate and go, hey, go eat that. No, you can make a broccoli cheese soup. You can make a broccoli bake if you want to do that, bake it and add some other stuff to it. My thing is with kids is you have to make it colorful, you have to make it fun, and you have to make it different, because every time I serve one type of food in several different ways, it sends a message saying, number one, they're gonna eat healthy, but they find it to be a surprise every time. Like, how is he gonna do it today for me?
Yeah.
Number one. Yeah. Number two, when we travel, we traveled 3 countries last year. I try to take them to a new country every year. It eliminates the problem from them eating new cultures and new foods and new cultures. It eliminates that problem because they're making broccoli just in their way. We make broccoli in our way, but they've been able to try every single time, And third thing is every week, we pick a different restaurant of a different nationality. And that's what we do. So I say, pick a restaurant. So let's say they say Japanese, and one of their most favorite things to eat is black rice sushi. They love it. They don't like white rice sushi, they like black rice sushi. And then the week after that, we go to Thai food. They love the Thai soups. So sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed, but guess what? You got to keep pushing their boundary. Once you do that, they will not hesitate to try something new at least once.
Absolutely. Awesome. So much great information out there.
So where do we get your book?
It's a great question. Great question. So you can go to the website called thefoodtalk.net. You can download an electronic copy of the book or purchase a hard copy of the book, which looks like that right there. And we're also available on Amazon. We're also available on Barnes & Noble. And we're also available on all the ebook digital platforms like Kindle, Nook, everything. So we've got it completely out there. You can download the first chapter for free off the foodtalk.net website.
Cool. Okay. And we hear that you have a special offer for anybody that's the first 30 people that sign up under your name for the Bestie Weekend Getaway. Tell us.
Yeah, no. So I was honored that you guys asked me to speak at the Bestie Weekend. I heard so much about it, and I'm more than happy to do it because you guys are doing a great thing in serving women and trying to get them to be healthy in so many different ways. So as my thank you to you guys and to your audience, what I wanted to do was basically put out an offer for the first 30 people who sign up for at least 1 month of my service. It comes in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, but you just have to sign up for 1 month. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you basically a signed copy of the book at the Bestie Weekend. We're going to do a picture on the red carpet at the book launch party, which is going to be awesome. And you're automatically, welcome to come to the party. And then they're going to be putting a raffle as well, so that on stage, whoever wins the raffle will win either 3 months of individual coaching for free, or 1 month of family coaching of 4 people, which is a lot of coaching and just getting the family united. But more importantly, I'm going to do a complimentary Skype session, 30 minutes, to kind of understand what's going on with your needs and nutrition, and you get to work with me one-on-one.
So amazing. Awesome.
So
That's awesome.
People, come get it while it lasts. But yeah, absolutely excited to do it for everybody.
Very cool. All right. So guys, you heard that. Don't waste any time. Only 30 people that sign up for a month are going to get this opportunity. So, and you get a free ticket to the Bestie Weekend Getaway.
Absolutely. They can't
right. And then you get a red carpet picture.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Well, Sanjay, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today and share some amazing tips on how to be healthy personally, but also as a family. It's lots of great information.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time to have me on. And then anybody who's got questions or interested in doing a complimentary Skype session with me, let them know, forward my information. I'd be happy to speak with them.
We will put all of the links and the ways that you can get hold of Sanjay in our description above this video right after we sign off.
Sounds great. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.